Who'd that come from? Okay, at this time, I'll ask everyone to stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Singleton.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dr. Purcell, please call the roll.
Charles Bunton,
Here.
Miranda Frost,
Here.
Ann Sermon,
Here.
Norman Crowe,
Here.
Jody Singleton,
Here.
Timothy Guyan, here, Paul Kennedy, Amy Price,
Here.
Larry Turner,
Here.
Stan Pilot, here, Stan Nelson, here, Rod Scott, here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Everyone should have had time to review the agenda. Chair entertains a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. Agenda is approved. Moving on to the minutes, everyone should have had time to review the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving to the chairman's report. I think all the chairmen showed up today because I think they were ready for me to go. That's the feeling that I get, but I had a wonderful lunch with the staff last week just to review the agenda and it was really nice for everybody to be there, to get to know everybody that was on staff. And I told them a story of when Stan called me a couple of years ago and he was up for commissioner. I don't know if y'all knew this, but with his job and everything, he couldn't take it. And so I thought he was going to ask me to be on a nominating committee. And he said, well, we think you should rise to the occasion. And I was like, I think you've got the wrong person on the phone. I just didn't think it was the right fit, but I was humbled by the nomination, and this last 2 years has been fantastic. I think the staff that we have here is better than any state organization. It's just amazing what they do for this commission. Makes our job so much easier. Our executive director, I put Jim up against anybody in the country. He is fantastic. And because of his leadership, I think the commission is in such a good place. We have such good relationships with all the colleges around the state, and that is just invaluable because we've not always had that relationship with all the colleges, and so that is absolutely fantastic, and just really appreciate his leadership. But you know, we do have things we need to work on, and that's to me, retention in the state is really big. We've got to find a way to continue to have graduates in the state to stay in the state. That's just very important. And we've got to do something about the rising tuition in our state. And so we do have our challenges, but we'll get there. But I feel like the commission is in a better place than it was 2 years ago. And so I think in any leadership role, I think you strive to leave it better than the way you found it. And I think we're there. So I really appreciate everybody's support of me. It's been a wonderful 2 years. It's been a strange 2 years. You know, the first year it was all on Zoom, and as we all know, that's just awkward altogether. But we got through it, and the last year we've been in person, so it's been fantastic. So anyway, I thank y'all. And
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say, I would like to just recognize your contribution to the board and all that you've done over the last couple of years, and you've done every bit as good as I knew you would. So, but seriously, thank you for everything you've done over the last couple of years.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, that leads me into our election of officers going forward. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Crowe to give the nominating committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The nominating committee, which consists of Commissioner Sermon and Turner and myself, met on August the 31st. And our committee unanimously recommended that Commissioner Miranda Frost be our next chairman, and that Commissioner Amy Price would be our vice chair for the next couple of years. And unless there is discussion about that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask to entertain a motion to accept the nominating committee's recommendation of Miranda Frost as chairman and Commissioner Amy Price as vice chair.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
We've got a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Chairman, the motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Crowe. Thank you for your work on that. And everybody that was on that committee, that's fantastic. And there's no doubt Commissioner Frost is just going to take this commission to another level. Excited about her leadership. She's excited, and great things are here to come. So now I'll turn over to Dr. Purcell for the executive director's report.
Well, first thing we have is we actually give you a plaque for your service. Who's doing it?
It's at the
Okay.
podium and you'll do it if you.
I do.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll come up here so we get a photo.
May take a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
It's all about the photo op. See, we tried it. We practiced last week when we did practice. Congratulations, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all.
In this picture, in front of all that camera, is everybody having a big party. Well, with folks moving on to other things, of course, Chairman Button will be on our committee for a while. We do have new staff coming. We have Stephanie Dolan started on July 1st, and there's all about her. She comes from Mississippi with a great level of experience and has really come into the agency with high energy. And Stephanie, if you would do a wave, just so everybody sees there, Stephanie. So we look forward to future years with that. She has moved to Pike Road, which evidently everybody in Montgomery does these days. And then her daughter is enrolled at AWIM. Anybody that's into that. So the rest of the summer. The rest of the summer is about doing all kind of travel and thing. And one of the things we had is the Flag Mountain dedication. As you call, remember several years ago, we went and there was money that came through our budget to help fund this renovation. So they got invited to the party. And their governor came. To Marcus. All right. And then they had all these kind of events that occurred. Clicking. There we go. There we go. And so one of the things they did is they released a red-tailed hawk. And there's all of us trying to take a picture of it. And if you blow up your phone to 500%, you get a fuzzy picture of a black-tailed hawk. And then go ahead. All right, there you go. The other thing that happened is we have new leadership there, new caretakers. MJ Everhart was the guy, you remember we introduced you to him. He was 80-something years old and helping doing the renovations up there. And then they have a new caretaker that it looks like that. As you can tell, he is gray like the original, and I think that's one of the requirements. The other one is that they are connected to the Appalachian Trail. Everhart's a famous walker from the Appalachian Trail, and Randy actually met his wife on the Appalachian Trail, and she's actually up there at the location now. And Everhart basically just walked off the job. There's a picture of him hitting the Appalachian Trail, which now sort of connects to the thing. The New York Times actually highlighted his what he just did. Go back some slides there. There we go. At 83, this guy entered the Appalachian Trail record book. He walked 2,000 miles of the trail from Georgia to Maine, and is now the oldest person ever to march. And he was the guy that helped us get our Flag Mountain thing started. All All right, so now we have, what else I did this summer? And some others, I went to Austin, Texas. They had 2 events there. One was Oracle has a corporate office there, and they did a big thing on our FAFSA completion project. And then the financial aid people were in that same town. And that made a big difference. We were able to speak there to actually a packed crowd on our efforts. And for those of you that don't recall, what happened is we were great. Alabama was way up there in the corner. We had a 30% increase year over year from end of May to end of May. Only Texas was close to us. And then, of course, the rest of the Yahoos are down here. So we've been very popular on the circuit to talk about how we were able to increase low income people taking and filling the FAFSA out, how we were able to get the high minority schools to participate at a much higher rate, and then how to help with people out in the boonies going to college. And evidently that's an issue in lots of rural states. And so here we are with the events we did this summer. Arizona, South Carolina, Delaware, North Carolina, SRB, and Witchy. And I don't know who's pushing the buttons. So move back. We're being hacked.
I'm sending it up for you.
All right, all right, stay right there. Okay, so one of the things I did do is I was going to these places, I am talking about our economy and how Alabama's economy is really an amazing thing right now. So they're forced to listen to about a 5-minute Chamber of Commerce kind of presentation on all the successes in their state. The next slide is about other things. Go back a slide, please. All right,
Use 1 to control that one.
and then who does this one?
I can do this one.
All right,
Yeah,
very
so
good.
that's why.
I have 2, let the record show.
Yeah. I was wondering, yeah, use this one.
Okay, so we did have a lot of interest in the education workforce needs index. Very successful thing for states. You can sort of see that we're starting to work with other states. And Patrick is highlighted here. Nicholas Bolden is highlighted here. We actually had other presenters from our office that actually presented this conference, which is a big conference. What was cool about that is it's great to have them there, but these guys didn't have better PR because they actually got a picture back to the office. So that's why they get a picture. I do want to show you some comparisons of states, and this is important as we think about our economy. And this is Arizona. Remember this index that we showed last week? And I sort of want to highlight some differences because here's a state that I thought after I visited Arizona was worse off than Alabama as far as the low income people, because they don't have trees. So if you're poor, you got to sit out in the sun. So I think, man, this has got to be a poor place. So I want to do a compare and contrast. And one of the things I did is look at the differences. You notice labor force participation for Arizona, and that middle bar there is the 50th percentile. And you can sort of see in each of those categories, Arizona is kind of different. The median annual wages, if you're working 35 hours or more in Arizona, you are above the national average in income. So there is great interest in you to work. And then the personal income is down a little bit because you have low income people and you're not participating in the workforce. But for those that work, there is a benefit. And then the working with adults is big. Go back one, please. All right, so working with adults, there was only one region that was actually not a critical need. But let's flip over to Alabama. And what you'll see is
You got it on there.
this one does not click.
Try to make it forward so we can get
Okay, so this is Alabama, and I'm gonna flip back to Arizona real quick. See how everything is for people that work? They're gonna make a wage. And notice in Alabama, there is no wage. So for Alabama, we have low participation rate, which is actually worse than Arizona, which I couldn't imagine. And then our median wages are all in every workforce region in Alabama is below the national average. And for Arizona, we were, you could sort of see that they were definitely in better shape. Hey, Marcus, I give you this thing. Go back 2, 3. Right there. And so the other one is really just personal income. Notice everybody in our region and our state are below the national average. And then working age adults who are on welfare. And the reason that's the case, every region in our state is in the lower quartile. And I believe that's totally based on the fact that there is no benefit for work in Alabama. And we have been conveniently the low price wage leader in this country when we did textiles. And even though we've gone to advanced manufacturing, we've maintained the low wage price for our regular workers. And that has an impact on our economy. And it's going to be a problem for our economy moving forward. We are going to go out and talk to workforce regions about how this data locally can make sense for them in trying to work out the future. We've got the National Computer Science Institute. We're going to be training people at the campuses on this. So they're will be happening. They're actually have their office in Hoover, and they do pass through money to our office. And so we said you should help us.
Use one, Doctor.
Just okay. The federal loan forgiveness, as you may recall, the Biden came in and did that, and Marcus, give me another click. I will say that generally across the board, loan forgiveness is bad public policy, but it is what it is. That's bridge has occurred basically, but there are some benefits for the individuals that are out there and for the state, and we'll highlight those. Forgiveness, it's good news for those students. Actually, very good news for Alabama because 630,000 Alabama residents have a debt of $37,000, which exceeds the national average in debt. And we rank 10th nationally in college debt. And possibly 500,000 of those people will actually have some debt relief. And it'll be beneficial for them as they think about what you normally want to do is spend time on and invest in when you get out of college. So there is some benefits for the state. Like I said, I don't think it's good policy. It sort of sets people up to think that can happen, that Santa Claus will come along often, and unless you have parents who are Santa Claus, it doesn't happen often. The next is, I was asked to give some more detail about it. Basically $10,000 for anybody that has a federal loan. They'll be doing this pretty passively by looking at if you file for your taxes. They'll be able to figure it out and then send you a notice. Some people may not have done taxes or done something weird that they would have to tell the federal government about it. If you are married, as long as you're making less than $250,000, so you can still ask. And then debt forgiveness for $20,000 for those that took a Pell Grant at any point while they were in college. And then we got the federal student loan payment resumes in 2023. So right now, even current student borrowers are going to be added in there. So this is the thing, they keep adding more people into this puppy. Parent borrowers are going to be in there. The only people that aren't going to be in there are the people that actually borrow from the bank. And that's been a lot of the letters I've gotten in concern has been from people at banks wanting to say, why aren't I in there? Graduate student borrowers, and then there's different ways to repay. So you can sort of see that matrix to the right that talks about all the weird things you can do with this particular thing. Now, with that said, there is some additional financial impact. Borrowers who made these pandemic actually can get a refund. So there's just more and more of the money that was put into the COVID money coming back to us in different ways. There are some states that tax this, but Alabama is not one. I did hear from some legislators that they may want to tax this. But I think, generally speaking, is they shouldn't. Let's just, collect the money and help our economy build. There's going to be actually, instead of sending money to Washington, D.C., they'll be spending money here in the state with that revenue. Next slide. So there are other loan forgiveness programs, and I want everybody in the room to look at this date, October 31st. They have very liberal interpretations of these particular ones. Teacher loan forgiveness for the federal government. You can get additional loan money forgiven, public service loan forgiveness. That is happening, and that's gonna be tighter after October 31st. And in the next slide, we have, if someone has a disability, they can get it forgiven, and if the school closed, and that's sort of why Biden did all those school close payments. It was set up in legislation or in policy that that was gonna happen. So we'll go to the next slide. 2 slides back. To Marcus. Yes. The big difference here is people say, well, why didn't you let why is the private student loans marked out? Well, this is the federal program. It actually had set up ways in which loans can be forgiven. And it always has these things. It actually had a camp on a loan amount. If you're gonna go become a doctor or something, you actually have to go to the banks to get a bigger loan. So that's why there's a disconnect, and some people are happy and some people are not happy about this. But those of you at the campuses, be aware that this is out there. Even some of your existing students can ask for a loan forgiveness for some of their current investments. So it could be helpful for us. The next is the Alabama Math and Science Teacher Program, which we have here. It is a loan repayment program. In the short run, Biden's program will actually make us not have to spend our money on it, because these students may have a good bit of their debt forgiven instantly, and before we have to send them another check. All right, but I do want to mention that there is the cost of higher education is still a big issue. There we go. In that article that you'll see to the right, it actually said that Alabama and Auburn's tuition increased 313% or something since 2000. And the whole thing about our student debt is we have ended up becoming so reliant on tuition in this state that it has become an issue for us, especially being a low income state. And I know that folks may not want me to talk about it. We are today, so hit me one. So this is the affordability for the 2-year colleges, and we're actually in the middle of the pack, which is fine. But if we go to the regional universities, we are basically tied with third most least affordable, which is problematic. And then if you go to the universe, the flagship, we are so far out of kilter that we're number one by a long shot. And we're going to go to the next couple of slides to remind you of some things we saw earlier. Yes, the state pays us less than they do in other states. We're at 83% of that, but we make it up in this next slide, which is our tuition is twice as high as the national average in other states. And for those of you in the audience say, well, it didn't feel that way in my campus. I will assure you that in the states that actually had to make budget decisions by closing programs, revising their business model, they did it in those other states, and they're leaner and meaner coming out of the recession. And in Alabama, all the decision was, we'll just increase tuition. And we did it on the backs of the students, and it's gonna really interfere with our ability to get people to go to college in the state. If you add the tuition and fees and the state support, our cost of offering college in Alabama is 25% higher, 28% higher than the national average. We need to address this as institutions. I would say that you should not increase tuition for a long time. The legislature is going to give you 6% or so probably this year. Gave you 6% last year. And I would suggest too that the legislature actually say is contingent. The state money is contingent on the fact that you stabilize the cost so that college can be affordable for every Alabamian, not just those that have a 325 GPA. I do want to give a shout out to Young Boozer and the PAC board. As you know, that was the full tuition payment program that sort of had some financial issues. The legislature finally shored up that program, and now participants, families that did pay with due diligence in that program, now will have their full tuition and fees paid for through that program. So I'm excited about that. And then 2 things before discussion items. So, Mr. Chairman, we had 2 presidents in the audience. from Athens State, Philip Way, Greg. And Don May, yes, sir. We're excited to have you guys here. It always helps. I have to talk more politely when y'all are here, so that is good. So anyway, that's all my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Purcell. Any questions, commissioners, for Dr. Purcell? The slides or anything?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate the presentation that you did there. It really highlights the importance of this commission and the work that needs to be done concerning the income within the state, but also, how should I say, the industries that are in the state. And what we do is so tied to the economic development piece within the state that I think we're not looking in detail as to what should be done. You know, when you start thinking about debt, forgiveness by the federal government is non-existent. However, any accountant would know that when it comes to an industry, within 3 years, we write off the debt and we sell that debt to collection agencies. Then those agencies pursue individuals to actually bring in that income. But what's important to recognize in that is that when a company writes off the debt, it actually is reducing its taxes as well. And that becomes a major issue for corporations in terms of the perspective that debt has within companies. And then when you start looking at individuals that live in states, the perspective that government has on debt. Because, you know, it never disappears. And given our economic state in terms of, how can I say, one of the lowest income in the country, it's very important for us to start looking at this cost of education. But we just can't deal with the cost of education. We have to deal with what are the jobs that are being created within the state. Because if educational costs is without a whack, yet we're not bringing in the higher paying employment opportunities, it's like double jeopardy for the state of Alabama. And the question becomes, what are we going to do? So I really do commend the work that has been done. And it highlights what we really have to do as a board to move forward. But I think, and this is just my opinion, we may have to become more concerned with the economic development aspect of the state if we're really going to have any impact. But thank you, Dr. Purcell, for the presentation.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
I have a quick question for Dr. Purcell. Practically speaking, when they do open up the forgiveness website, you know, with the complications we've had in the past, have you had any conversations with anyone? Are they going, is infrastructure boosted? Are they going to be able to handle the amount of traffic that's going to hit all at once?
Well, I think it's really not going to be as much traffic, because they said anybody that had filed taxes in 20 and 21, and they have those records, they would be able to do it between now and then. There wouldn't be an application at all.
Okay.
There's just the process of people that says, hey, I deserve this payment, and somehow I didn't get counted, or you didn't count me enough. They can actually present documents to illustrate that they actually do qualify for one of these loan forgiveness programs.
So what will the process be? When will they open that up to the?
They said this fall, October 1st-ish, that timeframe. But really, that application process for the people, you will know by December, pretty much if you're going to be getting forgiven. And then after that, you can go in and apply and request. But that, you know, that's a slow launch, but I think that the website will actually be just the troubled children who have some complex rationale for how they should be involved in the situation.
All right.
Dr. Purcell, I read an article the other day and I guess you have to, when you read stuff nowadays, you kind of have to verify stuff, but I read that if you do get this forgiveness, you got a tax liability. Is that true?
No, the federal government does not tax a loan forgiveness. There's 4 states in the country that do right now. Alabama is not one of them. There's discussion about whether we should tax it. But there, we have other loan forgiveness programs that we pay for at our office. I wouldn't necessarily want them to do that. Because there are some, I like loan forgiveness programs if someone does something to earn that. They're teaching in a high-risk school district for 5 years, or they're working for a high-risk public government office for 5 years, or something that's out there. So there is some loan forgiveness programs that have value, just across the board. Willy-nilly decision to do that makes it very hard for people to understand what the game is, what the process is, and how you get rewarded. A lot of people paid in advance. A lot of people just sucked it up and went with it, and worked nights and evenings and stuff. So there's just a mix, and the emotion for that was pretty good, because the press release that I had, or the quote I had on TV was, "Hey, this is a great idea." Well, it was a great idea for those individuals, and I got all the emails and the hate mail, and somebody said, "Well, you're from Marbury, Alabama, and where did you lose your work ethic values that I'm sure your papa taught you?" And he was picking on my mom and my papa. I had to immediately leave an address. I sent him a note and said, "Hey, I still have those same values, but I do believe work is important, and that you should earn, and you should pay back your obligations." But it is going to be a benefit for those individuals, and I hope they use it wisely, and it does boost our economy. And I think it will be a bit more beneficial in this state. The economy question is big, because right now, for Retain Alabama, is, trying to get people to come back. We've got a new initiative called Recall Alabama, where we're gonna try to get people from out of state that already left to come back. And then we have Reengage, where we want to sort of emphasize adults. 1 in 5 Alabamians have some college and no degree. The job opportunities that are predicted are going to be high credentialed. And if we can get them back into college, it'll be a lot cheaper for us to invest in these individuals that we know are staying in this state. So those would be the 3 initiatives moving forward that I think we should concentrate on.
Wonderful, great discussion. So the bar graph, we're on the far right as far as tuition. What's the plan of action to get us a little more in the middle? Alabama and Auburn, it's my understanding, I've got a daughter at Alabama. Their enrollment's at an all-time high, so obviously there's not an urge there to lower their tuition. What's our plan of action to get us more in the middle?
Well, I certainly think that the way the rules are written in Alabama, the tuition decision is made by the trustees at the campuses. So that's how it is. Now, in most states, you sort of have a coordinating board that says, here's a tuition mark. If you go above this, you get a penalty from state funds, and they reduce that amount. So it
How many states do that?
Yes,
How many states do that?
probably 40.
Okay, well,
And all the other states I was in, you as a board would say, here are the tuition rates for the flagships, here's the tuition rate for regionals. And for the fees might be differential, but that's pretty much how the model worked. In this state, it's always been up to the institutions. And I just don't think there was enough navel gazing that occurred when we had the economic crisis, where you actually decided which programs were vital to your mission, what were important to the state. Where in the other states, they had to make those decisions. And I've mentioned in Louisiana, the first year I was there, they closed 250 programs that were alive, not just new programs. They just closed them because they were not actually academically viable or economically useful for that state's economy, and we didn't do that here. And we need to do that. So whatever we can do within the board, even just by declaring that this is a problem and causing enough cognitive dissonance for this to be addressed. But the reason we have so much debt is because our tuition is twice as high. You don't necessarily take out a loan if you can afford college. And those of us at my age, Pell Grant paid for 70% of the cost of attendance in the 70s. Today it pays 40% of tuition. It's just a big different number. I mean, it doesn't pay hardly anything at all. And so we're sort of pricing out. We used to think that we were building a meritorious society where kid did everything good in high school, they'd get an opportunity to go to college and they'd move on. And now that's not the case. We're outpricing people. And we are now pricing regular Alabamians to go to the flagships. Certainly they can increase the number of out-of-state people. I like out-of-state people, they're good friends of mine, but is that, how are we doing that? Many will say we're giving scholarships to the meritorious in-state students to help, but what can we do to assure that we have more people who can experience that are from Alabama and whose parents have invested in this state for a long time?
Let's stay on top of that, and whatever we need to do as a commission to declare it, like you said, if we need to, let's do that. Any other questions for Dr. Purcell? Good discussion, thank you. Okay, we'll move into discussion items. The first discussion item will be presented by Dr. McGill, Adult Degree Completion Initiative. Dr. McGill?
All right, thank you, Chairman. Pleased to present a little bit of information to you all on what we've been working on around adult degree completion. This initiative is one of three that will start with RE. So this is the one that is Re-Engage Alabama. And the idea here is that adults may be engaged before in higher education, looking at bachelor's degrees, or it may be their first time engaging in a bachelor's degree program. And there are some supports out there that institutions can do, but also that the state can do to help those individuals get back into a degree program that supports their ultimate career trajectory, whether it's just getting that bachelor's degree so they can get a pay bump, or if they are looking to upskill in a certain field and make a career change. So we held a convening on August the 3rd. 13 of our 14 higher ed institutions were there. And brought teams that included academic officials, student services professionals, enrollment management. And the goal was to get them in touch with their own data to see how many adults were already engaged in their programs and which programs they were, and whether the institutions have been thoughtful about that. We also have 3 institutions that presented best practices that they do, and Athens State and Jacksonville State were 2 of those institutions. The third one was Troy University. And those 3 talked about different engagement training on prior learning assessment crosswalks and Athens. Virginia talked about some degrees when due. This was a program to identify those students who are almost ready to complete and getting them back and getting them the supports they need. And Troy talked a lot about their infrastructure for supporting military personnel and veterans in completing degrees. And there was just a lot of energy in the room, other institutions thinking, oh, we can do this too. And we are hoping, while retaining, we're not quite on that. There we go. All right, we'll just leave it on that one. Okay, so the goal is to start a cohort over the next year for institutions who are wanting to really focus on adults, and we have asked institutions to submit proposals of what they'd like to focus on. They are going to be getting small planning grants with the hope that there might be some further investment, either from philanthropy or from the state or from the institutions themselves. And you'll be hearing a lot more about this as we, get up and going with these cohorts. You can see the logo. Some of you guys can see the logo there that says All In Alabama, and that's it's like on a delay, so you think you're getting there, but you're not.
You want to go back one, Dr.?
So that they match. Okay, so the All In Alabama is the logo that we're debuting. It will cover all 3 of these initiatives, Re-Engage being one of them. Okay, so the next initiative, Retain Alabama. This is one that you all have heard about before. The legislature invested in it this past year, and then it's also in the budget again. That's starting October. Retain Alabama is all about keeping our graduates from our institutions who got bachelor's degrees in the state. So we know from data that 50% of them are walking off to somewhere else. And we do have some information about where they are now. That's related to the third initiative. Called Recall Alabama. But on the retain, this is the initiative that the brand Allen Alabama was intended for. So let's keep our graduates all in Alabama. Let's get our employers to be all in on hiring graduates and then getting population to recognize all the advantages and amenities we have in Alabama. So the logo that you just saw, the all-in logo, is about the debut. We've got a marketing firm that's been helping us with that and the website, and collateral materials should be available by the end of the month. And so my hope is that you'll start to be seeing it everywhere by the end of the term. And then over the next year, obviously, we'll continue to put more energy into that schooling up programs in partnership with our institutions to make sure that we're getting the message out to the students. Okay. And the third one. Recall Alabama. Jim, are you willing to speak on this one? The overview is Recall is trying to get graduates who have already completed their degrees who have wandered off. And we wanted to know where they wandered off to. And Jim's team put this data together.
So we partnered with USA Data, which is a data mining service. We gave them a list of our graduates for the last 10 years, and we asked them using their resources to find out where these students went. This is where these students have gone. Most of them, about 75% of them, have remained in Alabama, but we are losing more than we want to, particularly in STEM-related programs. So we think that this data will help us begin to market to these students who left the state and former students who've left the state and want to return. So this is all part of the
Question, did you start that just for the in-state students, or was that across the entire student population?
Well, that was across, our initial study included everybody across the entire student population, but this is limited to residents.
Thank you.
Right, and so you can see the numbers here are, heavily toward those who stayed in Alabama. There were some additional data that could give us more. We have a couple of institutions that weren't able to participate that affected how the institutions. All right, are there further questions on any of the three initiatives that are all in Alabama?
Quick question. Do you think the programs will be effective based upon the current industries that are in?
Well, let me take that in two parts. So we'll relate, definitely the current industries in Alabama are part of the conversation. So each of these initiatives does have some engagement with employers. So this is really, I would say, a place where the commission is taking a leadership role in connecting our universities to our employers. And the community college system, here, they've been at that game for a really long time. And so they have strong connections. So these are opportunities for tools and resources that we can bring to our universities to help them. And some are doing this really well, and some need support. So that's the name of the game. The hope is that our employers will find this impactful for themselves as well. Yeah. That we're in a tight labor market, that they will find that there is untapped labor from our graduates and current students in Alabama, and that they will be able to hire from that pool. And some of that is netting together relationships. They don't know how to find each other. So if we can figure that matchmaking out, then the hope is that the uptake will be much greater.
I do have a question. Can you talk a little bit about how these initiatives are going to be measured? For example, has the state reached out to all of the employers across the state and maybe formed a collaboration. And so the employers are reporting those statistics and just the progress on those.
That is a great question. So we are in the process of putting together a strategic plan for all three that will say the indicators that we want to use. We have not identified a way to reach out to all employers. So far, we've been working through some of our state agency partners to connect, with economic development and workforce development who have stronger relationships with employers. And we're trying to leverage our regional workforce councils and then chambers of commerce and business associations. So if there are structures that are out there that we haven't connected, we're still trying to figure out what we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. But in terms of kind of quantifiable things, I think initially the activities will be quantified by the number of businesses we've reached out to, the number of partnerships we have, the number of students who are connecting with partners, and the number of work-based learning experiences, those kind of things. But we will need to spend some more time on the long term, like how do we measure this long term?
Yeah, we do have the employment outcomes report we do every 2 years. So we would be able to see how many engineers we keep compared to the previous years. So in the global sense, we have these data points, but that's really not the detail, it's not the large data points that you want to see. You want to sort of see what the subsets are. And that's sort of requires lots of conversation about people willing to share data with us and those kind of things. I will say that all these initiatives have spurred other people to be engaged in how to connect higher ed with a lot of the initiatives, with the Commerce Department, grants that they give for new businesses coming in or businesses expanding, and how those contributions have changed the data too. So we do have enough information to do some of that stuff, but it does require a conversation with other departments.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Dr. McGill. Appreciate it. That's important work. The next discussion item will be presented by Dr. Hood, deferred maintenance results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to spend a few minutes with you discussing the HBCU Deferred Maintenance Grant Program. In the last legislative session, lawmakers passed a $5 million deferred maintenance grant program for the 14 historically Black colleges and universities in Alabama. And the legislation charged AIC with administering the grant program, and it limited funds to deferred maintenance projects related to the upkeep and maintenance of facilities. And as part of the process, we ask institutions to include pictures in their project proposals. This particular picture is a roof repair project for the Carver complex at Alabama A&M. So you'll see a few of these pictures as we go. But the legislation required a dollar-for-dollar match. Let's see. There we go. I got you. I got you. You got it. They give you some pointers. That's fine. We'll get through it. So the legislation required a dollar-for-dollar match between institutional and state funds, and AIC decided to limit the total institutional awards to $1 million so we could further distribute those funds and give more institutions an opportunity to benefit. We asked institutions to place a priority on projects related to ADA, health, and safety performance, and we asked that their proposals be due to AIC by July the 15th. And I'd like to take a minute to commend the institutions for their proposals. I think the committee members would agree that the proposals were very detailed and very thoughtful, and it really represented the deferred maintenance needs on their campus. This particular picture here is a picture of an ADA ramp renovation at Stillman College. The next slide shows the institutions totally submitted 35 projects totaling about $10.4 million, which is more than double the $5 million as part of the $5 million grant program. But this definitely shows to me the need for additional deferred maintenance funding across all of our institutions. And as required by the legislation, AIC created a committee to review these proposals and distribute the funds. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our committee members, Commissioner Stan Nelson and Jody Singleton for their work and service on the committee. I'd like to thank Dr. Sale for his leadership. And I'd like to thank Mr. Julian Rogers and Mr. Jacinta Whitehurst from the AIC staff for their service on the committee. We met on several occasions throughout the second half of July and were able to finalize our awards. This particular picture is the bathroom renovation at Gadsden State Community College. So you can see the various needs throughout our campuses. The next slide is an overview of our grant programs that we've awarded. And we, as part of the award process, we ask institutions to verify their matching funds to make sure they had that institutional state match, and all of them did. And so we asked them to proceed on their work on August the 15th. So that's when their consent to proceed on August the 15th. And as you can see, there were, out of the 35 projects, we were able to fund 19 of those projects. So we weren't able to help everybody, but we are, you know, we were proud of the fact that we were able to provide at least full or partial funding in every institution's priority project. So every institution got some of those funds. You can see the various awards and projects there. So, any questions about that work?
What was the total amount that everybody gave? Didn't you say it was much more?
It was 10.4 million.
Wow.
It's about 108% of what we had available. And again, I think that speaks to the need of deferred maintenance, particularly in our smaller regional colleges and universities.
Any questions for Dr. Hood? Thank y'all for whoever served, everyone that served on that committee. So you'll just keep the podium.
Okay, great.
Talk about our website update, which is extremely exciting.
Okay. Maybe the distance is the issue. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, before I give an update on our new website and data portal, I mentioned in our last discussion that the work that we've done, we did it in-house. We didn't outsource it to another firm. And I just want to take a moment to recognize our 8 staff members that took part in this project. I've got some of them behind me. They're scattered throughout the room. But these folks have collectively, as a group, been with AIC for 128 years. 2 of our staff members have over 32 years of service, just to AIC. So that they've been here a while, but these folks started knowing very little about the technology that we're using today. And they had to learn it on their own, and they did this in addition to the other functions that they did. And after some gnashing of teeth and a lot of prayer, we got to where we are today. So I think they've done a great job, and it'll be an ongoing process moving forward, and we've still got some tweaks to make to the site. But I think you'll find in a minute that it's a much better reflection of our commission and the work we're doing to promote higher education throughout the state. So if we've got a minute, I'd like to show you the site and go through some pages for you. George, you'll go to the About Us page. Yes, sir. See if this is reading. Okay, just for the sake of time, I'm going to hit a few pages. Is it doing? That's fine. Okay. But as Jamarcus scrolls across the site, you can see this is updated with graphics. It's interactive. You'll see that it's ADA compatible. There's an ADA icon in blue to the upper left-hand side. Jamarcus, if you can click on that little man there, it'll open up a box, an expansion box for ADA compliance. Jamarcus, if you'll scroll to the bottom, you can see that it incorporates our social media feeds. Those are live feeds from our social media. Jamarcus, if you could go back up the top and click on the About Us link and go down to the commissioners. You can see the commissioners have a new page. If you can scroll down to Chairman Button's picture, we'll click on him, click on this picture. It opens up a picture for each commissioner, and at the bottom it's got your bio and some contact information. Marcus, if you could go back to the About Us page and go to the Executive Directors page, we'll click on Dr. Purcell. You can see, that's actually a picture of our building that we're in today, and this is Dr. Purcell's bio. So you can see that it's definitely got, if you're familiar with our old website, it's definitely got a more updated look, it's more interactive. So Marcus, if you click on the institutions and go down to 4-year, we've got so this page has two different components. The top part of it is an interactive map of where our institutions are located in Alabama. Marcus, you can kind of zoom in. You can see each institution has its own logo. You can click there if you want to go to their institution. And that's okay. Let's zoom out and go to the bottom of that, Marcus. Here we go. So we also have institutional profiles. Each institution has a link to its website, a link to its federal IPEDS data, and then a link to our AIC profile. Marcus, if you'll click on the profile for ASU, that third link there, right there, yes, sir. And that'll take users directly to our ASU profile in our data report, our institutional profile. Marcus, if you could exit out of that and get back to our page. Under students and parents, we've got different menu options there. Under researchers, we've got if you'll go to researchers, Marcus, and click on finance and facilities. One thing that we've tried to do in this new layout is link our data to the different functions throughout the agency. So you'll see under finance and facilities, if you'll scroll down just a little bit, Marcus, you can see that we've got the data and reports related to finance and facilities, like our educational trust fund reports, our budget recommendations, those types of things. So that goes along not only finance and facilities here, but workforce alignment has its own reports and things like that. So Marcus, if you'll go back up to academics and go down to statewide initiatives, and then go to All In Alabama. We've heard about All In Alabama today. We can get out here. We got. So we got a link to that. So we've got the new logo and the different components of the All In Alabama campaign. We've got contact information there as well. So if you get a chance in your free time and you want to learn more about AIC and our different things that we're doing, I think this website again reflects the good work of our agency. If you'll click on the data portal, Marcus, we feel like this data portal will be an important component of the commission as more people want to find out facts and figures on our institutions. Now, what we've got historically, the commission, we've got historical legacy data, and then we've got new dynamic data. We've tried to incorporate both of those here. The first two links, the static reports link and the dynamic reports link, deals with some of our legacy reports. Marcus, if you'll click on the static reports option. I mentioned earlier, we're trying to tie each report to the different functional agencies, and this page does that. You can see under like research services reports, those are reports on student enrollment and degrees awarded. Under finance and facilities, Marcus, if you'll scroll down just a little. I mentioned some of the budget information there. And then if you'll scroll down some more, Marcus, workforce alignment, we started to add some workforce out. Dr. Purcell mentioned the workforce outcomes report. We've got that information out there as well. Marcus, if you go back to the data portal landing page, maybe go. That'll work right there. And so we've also incorporated some dynamic data. If you've ever looked for data online, you'll know that people are starting to use Tableau and Power BI to create interactive data visualizations, and our agency has chosen to use Power BI to reflect our data. Marcus, click on the enrollment dashboard. And I won't go into much detail here, but I just want to show you the functionality of what these interactive visualizations will do. So Marcus, if you'll go under the institutions up there, if you'll go down to, let's say, and this numbers reflect all public institutions for fall 2021, as the top says. If you'll scroll down to Troy, So those are the numbers for Troy for fall of 2021. Marcus, if you'll click on the spring tab up at the top. And so that number was in the fall, that number is in the spring, and then one more for the summer. That's their summer enrollment. And so all of this is interactive, dynamic, and you can see the different pie charts for the different components of their enrollment. There's a pie chart for gender, there's a full-time, part-time status, there's residency, there's financial aid, there's race, there's remedial students. There's a lot of information here. If you'll click back on the fall term, Jamarcus, and go down to the majors link at the very bottom there. This visualization looks at top 10 majors for Troy during the fall 2021 semester. You can see that business management is the most popular degree at Troy. And you can, in these boxes on the right hand side, those are all interactive buttons. So if you want to know how many of those are female students, you can just click on the female box there, and it'll rearrange those numbers to only include the female students and the different degree objectives there. Marcus, go back out of that. Okay, now go back to enrollment dashboard one more time. And just so people want to know where. If you'll click on the 10-year enrollment trends, Marcus, so this looked at 10-year enrollment trends, and there's a we call it a slicer or a selector by county. If you want to know how many students come from a particular institution in Talbot County, we can look at that. So back down to that, Marcus, I want to show you one more slide related to completions. Now, completions is our degrees awarded visualization. Go back to one more. Let's get over. And go down to completions. And so these are our degrees awarded. We've been talking about enrollment. And leave it like that, go to the bottom. You can see we have a STEM slicer here, or a STEM pie, average age, average level, award level details. I think on the 10-year major trends. So this particular visualization, I like it because it has, you can select the major, scroll up the top, and click on major, and select all, and then do accounting, and then change the degree type to baccalaureate. If you want to look at the trends in baccalaureate degrees for accounting, you can get that information as well. We think that will be important for economic developers and workforce people. We also have visualizations by the 7 different workforce regions across the state. I didn't cover those today, but again, I would just encourage you in your free time, if you're interested in learning more about the numbers and the work that we do, I think this would be a good source.
Great work.
Excellent.
That's great. Any
Yeah, I have, is this data inputted here at AIC, or is this directly from the universities into Power BI?
That's a great question. So the data comes to AIC in data files from the universities. We have a process where we edit that data. We go through a series of edits, and then we upload it to the Power BI visualizations.
How often will it be updated? Sorry.
So we update the data. We get data in every semester.
Yeah.
So in some cases, it'll be updated every semester. It won't be, I know for those of you in the business community, I know it's a daily update thing. It's not that frequent. It's more of a, think of it more as a quarterly update.
It's incredible y'all did that in-house too.
Good job.
Yeah, great job. Any questions for Dr. Hood? Wonderful. Great job. Thank you for your report. We'll move into the decision items. Each decision item will be voted on individually. Any questions may be directed to the staff presenter. Our first decision item A will be presented by Dr. Dolan. The approval of the 2023 meeting schedule.
Good morning.
Good morning.
When I get to the slide. As presented on the screen, decision item A may also be viewed on page 6 in today's commission meeting packet. The proposed dates for 2023 are March 10th, June 9th, September 8th, and December 8th, all of which occur on Fridays. When devising the schedule, the following factors are considered. The commission is required by law to meet every 3 months, resulting in 4 proposed dates, 1 per quarter. A meeting is necessary in December to adopt a consolidated budget recommendation, and the proposed schedule attempts to avoid most state and federal holidays. The AIC staff recommends that these proposed dates as the 2023 commission meeting schedule for the commission's approval.
Thank you, Dr. Dolan. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Dr. Dolan. Our next decision item B will be presented by Mrs. Petway. The final approval of amendments to the administrative procedures for the Alabama Math and Science Teacher Education Program Loan Repayment Program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. This item can be found on page 7 of your agenda packet. So during the 2022 legislative session, Alabama Act 2022-396 was passed. The act made further modifications to the ANSTEP program regarding math and science teachers. Changes were aimed at increasing the base loan repayment amount from $2,500 per semester to $3,750 per semester. Award amounts for the computer science teachers did not change, and the supplemental award amount did not change. This increase is for new eligible applicants who are approved to participate beginning this fall 2022 semester and moving forward. So the preliminary approval for these proposed amendments was granted by the commission on Friday, June 10th, 2022. The proposed changes were filed with the Legislative Service Agency on June 15th, 2022. And it was published in the Alabama Administrative Monthly on June 30th. Interested parties, as well as the general public, had until August 9th, 2022 to make comments, and no comments were received. Should the commission grant final approval to these proposed amendments, the certified changes will be filed with the Alabama Procedure Office on September 13th, 2022, and will go into effect on November 15th, 2022. Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending final approval of these amendments to this proposal.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Ms. Petway. Our next decision, item C, will be presented by Mrs. Jones. The public drawing to determine the order of payment of Alabama's student grant program funds for the 2023 academic year. And I'll point out this is about as much fun as we have on this commission. So let's make it good.
Good morning. All right. In accordance to the Budget Management Act, Section 41-19-1, Code of Alabama, 1975, the State Department of Finance reviews each agency's operation plan to ensure their appropriations have been made for the planned purpose and will not be exhausted before the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, departments are required to distribute appropriations equally among the 4 quarters. With this concept, the quarterly appropriate amount for the Alabama Student Grant Program are insufficient to disperse to all institutions. As the funds become available, the order in which the institution will receive their fall disbursement is determined by a random and public draw. From first drawn, first paid, to last drawn, last paid. Institution spring disbursement will be reversed in order from last drawn, first paid to first drawn, last paid. The purpose of this drawing is to determine the order in which fall grants will be dispersed to the 12 participating institutions. This crystal ball contains the name of each participating institution. Mrs. Petway and I will draw and announce the institutions to determine the order. Mix it like that.
Amherst University,
Amherst University,
Miles College,
Miles College,
U.S. Sports Academy,
U.S. Sports Academy,
Faulkner University,
Faulkner University,
South University,
South University,
Birmingham Southern College,
Birmingham Southern College,
Stillman College,
Stillman College,
Spring Hill College,
Spring Hill College,
University of Mobile,
University of Mobile,
Samford University,
Stanford University,
Huntington College,
Huntington College,
and Oakwood University.
Oakwood University.
Excellent, thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the order in which the institutions were identified.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The order of payment is approved. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Our next decision, item D, will be presented by Mrs. Harris, the fiscal year 2022-23 operations plan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. You can find this item on page 13. The commission has 35 programs and 6 appropriation units. There are 3 new programs for this year: STEM major teacher recruitment, preferred maintenance, HBCU, and FAFSA completion assistance. We have an overall percentage of increase of 32.46. And this budget has already been submitted. It was submitted on July the 29th. But we can make changes with an operation plan revision after October 1st. On this slide, you will see that it is overall review of increases as well as level funded or decreases. Fortunately, we did not receive any decreases in our programs for FY23. But you can see here that our 172 appropriation retained Alabama. We had an 18.75% increase in our 2 student assistance, Alabama Student Assistance Program, Alabama Student Grant Program, received a 9.93% increase. the 152 appropriation received 171.19% increase, and this is mainly due from the new program that we received, the STEM major teacher recruitment at $4,500,000. The 189 appropriation has an overall of 25.11% increase. And we have an overall 32.46% for the entire program. On this particular slide, you will see the entire budget, and it shows you the percentages of the 6 appropriation units that we administer. And you can see that the student assistant, which is our 153 appropriation unit, has the largest percentage of 38.3%. And the planning coordination, which is our operation and maintenance, is only 9.4%. Here you'll see our major object codes. This is how we pay for all our expenses. Now, you can see that the grants and benefits is 88.9. So most of the money that comes through the commission budgets benefits the students and the institutions. So this shows the different types and it shows the 88.9%. On this particular slide, you can see a comparison from FY15 to FY23. And if you can click it, as you will see here, that in FY15, we only had 21 million, a little over 21 million. In FY23, we got a little over 61 million. That's a $40 million increase. That's a total of 185% increase from FY15 to 23. So in 8 years, you can see that the commission has really grown, and this is really due to the economy, the growth in the economy, and it's also due to the leadership of our great director, Dr. Brazell. He has obtained many programs. We started with probably 20 programs, now we're at 35. So during his tenure, we've received a lot of programs. This shows you just the operation and maintenance. As I aforementioned, the operation and maintenance is really the umbrella for the commission. In this particular fund, all the expenses, the operations of this agency is paid out of this particular program. You'll notice that it's a 66.4% for personnel, but most of our personnel paid from this particular fund, and with 35 programs, that's pretty good to know that this one fund is paying everybody to do the work for 35 different programs. And here is just giving you a visual look of what I just told you about the 35 programs and 66.4% being our personnel costs. And it also shows you the other percentages that we are paying for rent and other things as well. And I will be very glad to answer any questions you may have at this time. The staff is asking for approval of that operation.
Thank you for your work. Any questions from Mrs. Harris? Okay. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for your work.
Chairman Bunny,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
can I be recorded as abstaining because of my relationship with one of those organizations?
Absolutely. Can we get that? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. We're gonna move into academic programs. And I encourage the commissioners, if y'all have any questions for the presenters, please speak up. The next decision item E will be presented by Dr. McGill. The first program will be from Athens State University, Master of Science in Acquisition and Contract Management.
All right, got our clicker back on track.
Let's go.
There it is. Okay, Athens State University, Master of Science in Acquisition and Contract Management. Please, Athens is here to answer any questions. But this program is really designed to fulfill an industry need that is up in the Huntsville area. Redstone Arsenal has a lot of federal contracts, and there are a number of U.S. Army employees who are looking to get additional procurement training specific to their fields, and Athens State has developed this program specifically to meet that need. Athens already offers a BS in acquisition and contract management, which currently serves about 95 students a year and graduates almost 20 students. So there's really strong demand that this master's program is expected to fulfill. The main focus is on working professionals, and so the program is designed to be 100% online and serve part-time students. There are only a few modest investments that are needed for adjunct faculty and library collections. But otherwise, the program is expected to generate quite a bit of revenue and tuition. The only other master's program that's in that region at the level is at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, also up in the area, has a concentration within its existing MBA program. So this proposed program will be the only full degree program dedicated in this field. And we had no concerns expressed by other institutions, and staff is recommending approval for the program.
Excellent. Any questions, Dr. McGill? Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or further comments?
I'd just like to comment that as an employer, I think this is a program that's heavily in demand, so I'm glad to see this coming about.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. All in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. President Way, thank you for being here again. Appreciate you. The next program will be from Auburn University, presented by Dr. McGill, Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing.
Thank you, Chairman. Auburn University has put forward this proposal for a PhD in nursing, which would extend its existing nursing offerings into the research doctorate. At the graduate level, the Auburn College of Nursing already offers a Master of Science in Nursing and a Doctorate of Nursing Practice, DNP. And in order for students to enroll in this program, they must have completed that master's or doctoral training. So this is really a, you can't go straight from a baccalaureate. It does require quite a bit of investment on the part of Auburn in terms of reallocating some of their own funds for assistantships. So the investments are mostly in that supporting students who are going to be participating full time. They are expecting some expenses to be offset by external funding that they are hoping will begin in year 4, although it may begin sooner than that. The program's aim, of course, is to increase the kind of scholarly excellence of Auburn College of Nursing, but also to train more faculty who can then teach at research institutions in those undergraduate nursing programs, which helps the nursing pipeline and so forth. Auburn already, prior to this proposal coming forth, has done a cluster hire in nursing of 3 nursing faculty. That's not reflected in the proposal because they've already made that investment in that would support this program, but not exclusively for this program. There are 2 programs that are similar in the state. That's a joint program by UA and UAH. And then the second program is at UAB. We did receive comments from peers for responses And 3 of the responses were questioning some of the resources, investment potential for future funding through external sources. And so we asked Auburn's College of Nursing to provide a response. We felt that their response was appropriate, the kind of thing we would want to see for a research doctorate in nursing. And they are here to answer any additional questions that might be had, but suffice it to say, they have the labs and facilities already in place that would support faculty research to go out and get those external grant funds. So with that, staff is recommending approval.
Okay. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments for Dr. McGill or the representatives from Auburn?
I have just a question, I guess, on the peer review, was the biggest concern the resources or were there other concerns? I know that there's bullets here on certain things, but I guess I'm just curious to know, was it the budgeting that was the biggest concern?
So that was the one that was probably the strongest expression of concern, was around, did the existing faculty have potential to get funding and was there evidence for that? So when we asked Auburn for the response they provided, we felt did show the evidence for that. The other concern that we did see was around available spaces. As I said, there are 2 other programs and responses from the programs suggested that they may still have space in their programs. And that is something one could consider. We felt that the demand and the investments that already have been put into the program merited opening a 3rd program.
And you said that it also centered around, was it external reallocations or internal?
External,
Okay,
the ability to go out and get sponsored research funds.
okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm just amazed at looking at the curriculum that this degree requires, the amount of research. Phenomenal amount of work has to be taken in research.
And you all want to add?
This program, we believe, will contribute in a substantial way toward addressing the nationwide nursing shortage by providing faculty for institutions across the country. It also provides an opportunity that I mentioned was made concerning external funding. We believe there's considerable opportunity for that, particularly in collaboration with the other health science related disciplines that are on campus, and major source being NIH as well as other federal funding.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from Jacksonville State University, presented by Dr. McGill, Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership.
All right, so this proposal from Jacksonville State University, as the chairman said, would be an EdD in educational leadership. This will be the first doctorate in education at Jacksonville State. They offer 2 other doctoral degrees. One is a Doctor of Science in Emergency Management, and the other is a Doctor of Nursing Practice. Both of those existing doctorate degrees are practical doctorates, and they have been approved as single practical doctorates, individual ones for Jacksonville State, because it's currently outside their role to have doctoral programs. So they are proposing this program as the 3rd. Before they propose a 4th, they must come to the commission and request a role change. And my understanding is that they don't have an intention to do that. We'll certainly make you all aware of that plan changes. So when looking at programs in a single discipline above the instructional level, this is where it applies the strategic benefit review in addition to a standard industry need and all the other benefits the program has. And for this program in particular, its strategic benefit, we believe, came from extending JSU's existing offerings of educational leadership. They have very strong programs at the master's level and at the education specialist level that are highly enrolled and have been performing very well. They would also be the only institution in Region 2, so up in that northeastern part of the state, that would offer this degree. So no one else is kind of covering that geographical area. In terms of their business plan, they have an existing faculty line that they're planning to redirect toward this program. So let's see, putting some of their own investments in the game there. And then some modest investments for library and assistantships. There are other EdU programs throughout the state. As I mentioned, there are none in the neighborhood of GSU, but there are Alabama State, University of Alabama, UAB, University of South Alabama, and Auburn has a PhD in this. As far as peer responses go, we have 3 responses. 2 were supportive and had a couple of constructive curriculum comments. And then 1 did not respond and said we didn't have enough information. So we, again, support the program in terms of its strategic benefits and are recommending approval of the program. And we do have representatives from JSU that are almost the whole row here to answer any questions for you. They're particularly excited to bring this proposal.
Okay. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I'll stop at it, but having been a principal and superintendent for many years, I think one of the biggest problems we have in public education today, in my opinion, is leadership. I hate to say it, but you show me a school that's not performing, and I'll often show you a principal, this man or woman's not doing their job. And the same thing for the whole system and the superintendent. But I think anything we could do to improve the lot of school administrators, principals, superintendents, any supervisors, it's a good thing. And I think it has such power in that part of the state to increase learning and what kids know. So I think it's a really great opportunity for that area of the state.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments. Any other questions or comments? And please don't ever apologize for butting in. I think that's fantastic. All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved, and thank all of y'all for being here. President Killingsworth, bringing your team. It's good to see y'all. The next program will be from the University of Alabama, presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience.
All right, thank you, Chairman. This Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience would bring forward a concentration that already exists under the Bachelor of Science in Psychology. It's been a very strongly enrolled concentration, attracting about 100 students a year. For psychology is a very popular undergraduate program, so you can imagine how big the program is. And so UA is proposing to take that concentration and make a standalone major. Because it is coming from the existing program, we added that extra viability that the existing program has to maintain, which, like I said, I don't think is going to be in any way a challenge for them. There are no new funds from this program. There are only 2 other programs at the undergraduate level specifically dedicated to neuroscience at UAB and at Auburn. The proposal did have a letter of support from the UAB for the program, so we're always pleased to see that. And UA, just to mention, has another program that is multidisciplinary, focused on neuroscience and education, which is offered through the College of Education. We're not expecting this program to compete with that program, as they kind of have different focuses. The education program being much more about teaching and learning, but they certainly have a depth, a strong bench in neuroscience, and staff is recommending approval of the program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye. And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The second program from the University of Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Science in Sport Management.
Excellent, yeah, so this is another program where an existing concentration is being elevated to a standalone degree. So currently, sport management is under the BS in hospitality and sport management. So if it's approved to be its own degree, that existing degree will become hospitality and events management. And it is very strongly enrolled in its concentration. And there is a modest new cost to support faculty who would be directly assigned to this program, but otherwise the existing coursework and resources are sufficient to support the standalone program. It does include quite a bit of work-based learning, including the required internship and also events, of which there are many at the University of Alabama and across the Southeast that students in this program and with partner at the master's level, I also will take part in. There are 8 existing programs that have a sports management concentration or focus at other institutions. And if you include the one that already exists at UA as a concentration, then that's 9 programs. But like I said, UA does have a master's program that this would integrate with, and of course, a reputation and sport that this program would support. And with that, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The third program from the University of Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Science in Business Cybersecurity.
Thank you. So this program, actually there's a typo on the slide. It should be CIP 52-1206. That's a business program. So this would be offered through the College of Business. And that means that its focus is more on the management of cybersecurity and technology and less on the actual coding and development of cyber protections, which tends to happen either in cybersecurity engineering or in cybersecurity degrees that are offered through computer science. UA does have that technical degree in its Department of Computer Science, and they are planning to keep that degree for students who want to keep that technical focus. And this program is designed to attract individuals who want that more management focus. There are 3 other institutions who have a management and cybersecurity concentration or degree. And so this is obviously a growing industry in Alabama, especially in the northern part of the state. And help to meet those industry needs. We do have 2 other institutions who have cyber technical programs in addition to UA's. So this will, help support the industries that we've got. There are no new costs associated with the program. No new courses will be developed. It will be a packaging of existing coursework. It does not require work-based learning, but it does prepare students to achieve industry certifications like CompTIA Security Plus, which is one of those entry-level standard certifications. So with that, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments?
Someone's here from the University of Alabama, right?
No, they may be online, but I don't see them.
my question, if they are online, I guess I'm just wanting a little more clarification for the difference in the two programs. The existing cybersecurity program, the Bachelor of Science, and then now this business, Bachelor of Science in Business. I understand one's more technical and the other one's more business related, but I wanted to just kind of have someone expound a little bit on the relationship between those two programs, and are they going to be competing? Are they going to be competing for the same students, or is it going to be complementary? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Right, right. Well, so I mean, if somebody is on who wants to speak to that from UA or UA system, Jamarcus will give me a nod, but they did provide extensive comparison between the two programs
Okay.
in the materials that they submitted to us, including a table that showed some of the learning
Okay,
outcomes for
okay.
one and the other, and the coursework. Only a handful of which will actually overlap. This program being in the business school will
Right.
have some of that a lot of management.
And the other is the engineering school, is that right?
It's the College of Arts and or Sciences and
Okay.
Math, but it's this computer science department.
Okay,
There are a handful of schools that do have that engineering, cybersecurity, which
Okay.
is even a further depth of innovation in the technical sphere. So the idea would be that a graduate of this program will be able to work with vendors and contractors, will be able to manage the day-to-day cyber operations, whereas the technical degree will be the one doing actual coding to protect cyber systems.
gotcha.
Okay, so I don't know. No. We don't have. Okay. All right, but if that, does that answer your question on that?
It does. Yes. I was just hoping to hear from someone from the university.
We don't have anybody. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye. And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from the University of Montevallo, presented by Dr. McGill, Bachelor of Science in Nursing,
Yes,
Science in Nursing, sorry.
yes. No. Yeah, a BSN is the degree nomenclature, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So you do get that double found. Put it a couple of times here for some others as well. So Montevallo is bringing forward the BSN in Nursing. This has been planned quite a while. The university has received an earmarked investment from the Alabama legislature in the amount of $1.5 million to support the startup facilities and equipment for the nursing program. And they will, based on the business plan, need to invest, or probably have invested already some of Montevallo's own funds to support the rollout of the program, especially around the hiring of either faculty who would support nursing. And but by year 4, they are expected to then have the program be self-sufficient with the number of students and tuition coming through. Because they don't have existing nursing coursework or program, they have been working with an external consultant who is especially from the field, retired instructor and professor of nursing, who has helped them develop the curriculum to be in line with the Alabama Board of Nursing Standards, and also with the specialized accreditor, which is the Council on Collegiate Nursing Education, CCNE. And the program will deliver 2 different tracks. One is pre-licensure, so meaning individuals who need to get their RNs, so they have quite a bit of hands-on work to do for that. And then those who are seeking the BSN bachelor, who already have met their licensure standards and want that capstone to get the bachelor's degree. You'll see 2 different tracks in the curriculum that meet both of those needs. We obviously have a really strong nursing shortage in the state and throughout the country, so I think the legislature's thinking was to support additional programs where there is demands. And with that, staff is recommending approval for this program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The next program will be from the University of North Alabama, presented by Dr. McGill. Bachelor of Business Administration in Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Chairman. The University of North Alabama has brought forward this BBA in Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which is elevating an existing concentration in their BBA in professional management. Right now, the concentration already exists, so they won't need to develop a lot of new coursework for this program. But it does mean that there's going to be a draw of students from that existing concentration into this standalone degree. They're not planning to carry on our concentration, so we added that extra viability, the extra post-implementation conditions to maintain viability for the existing program. But again, there's strong demand for both programs, and we feel that UNA will be able to meet that requirement. This particular program fits with the state's initiatives and investments in growing small businesses, and research and design and innovation, especially through the Innovation Corporation. And so you will find that there's strong interest from economic developers, and we've got letters of support for this program from the regional and local economic development institutes up in the northwest part of the city. There are 4 existing programs in entrepreneurship and innovation at the baccalaureate level, some of which are standalone and some of which are concentrations within an existing business program, similar to the way this was structured before. But nonetheless, innovations have to be localized, and so therefore having an additional program in that part of the state makes sense for, or fits in line with the state's economic development plans. There is significant work-based learning that can be tailored to students and different interests, especially working with startups and the like. And with that, staff is recommending approval for the program.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. The second program from the University of North Alabama will be presented by Dr. McGill, Master of Health Administration in Health Administration.
So yes, this is another one, MHA and Health Administration. The University of North Alabama currently offers a concentration in healthcare management as part of their MBA. They are proposing this program not to replace that concentration, but to have a full degree program for those individuals who want exclusively to be trained in healthcare management. So they are still expecting individuals who are pursuing their MBA who might want a handful of courses in healthcare management to carry on in that existing concentration. So this new degree would be more focused. It does require some additional investment in faculty to get the number of new courses up. They are intending, for student demand to be very much working professional, so you can see a strong part-time enrollment in their projected enrollments. And they organize the program to be 100% online to meet that demand from working professionals. There is work-based learning through a capstone project, and this would be, if approved, one of 4 programs that are Master of Health Administration offered in the state. The others being at Athens State, Auburn, and University of Alabama. With that, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Next program will be from the University of South Alabama, presented by Dr. McGill, Doctor of Occupational Therapy in Occupational Therapy.
Yes, and so this abbreviation OTD, which is the Doctor of Occupational Therapy, is going to be a reconfiguration of University of South Alabama's existing program. So as an allied health program, they have a specialized accreditor who is the accreditation board for occupational therapy education. And that board has redone some of its requirements to say that master's degrees have to be capped at 60 credit hours. And USA's current master's program that prepares, individuals for professional practice and occupational therapy is 95 hours, which has been a kind of professional standard. So the accreditation board is asked all programs over 60 hours to reconfigure, and USA decided that they wanted to retain and adapt their existing coursework and add additional coursework to reach that doctoral level. And that is the program they brought forward to you all, which has 114 hours. This particular field has extensive coursework that is all required to be approved. Quite a bit of it is work-based learning, practice, in professional settings, as required by the accreditation institutes. In order to adapt their program and bring it up to that doctoral level, there will be investments needed in faculty, for new full-time and part-time faculty. For the first year in particular of the program, USA is expecting that they will need to reallocate some of their existing resources to the program. But by year 3, the program will break even and become self-sufficient through its generation of tuition. As I mentioned, the field work. We did add one additional post-implementation condition that has to do with going through that accreditation process. So we currently have a strong relationship with the accreditor, but we need to go through and actually do the doctoral program. And so long as we need that, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments?
Did you mention the projected enrollment?
I didn't have it written down. But I know there are representatives from USA who were saying 36. Right, which is probably, I think, on par with what they currently see in the master's program. So the students who are already in the pipeline for the master's will carry on. And then new cohorts of students, once this gets up and going, will be doctoral students. So they're expecting the same volume.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Dr. McGill, thank you so much.
Right.
The next program will be from Southern Union State Community College, presented by, yes,
I
ma'am.
know, but before I say that, I did want to say we saw a message in the chat that UA system
Okay,
had stepped away when we called on there. But they are there, should further questions. So I just wanted to note that.
okay. I would just recommend that you reach out to them. Pass along his Commissioner Pilot's comments and then just forward it to the commission. And going forward, I would highly recommend, especially since we do Zoom now, that we have a representative, if you're on the agenda, to be approved, especially the University of Alabama at 3 on the agenda. Somebody that we can talk to or ask. And I so appreciate everybody that's here that did have something on the agenda. So, okay,
Excellent. Thank you.
thank you. Mrs. White, come on down. Southern Union State Community and Technical College, Associate of Applied Science and Veterinary Technology Technician.
There we go. All right, good morning.
Morning.
This program will prepare graduates for immediate employment as veterinary technologists and technicians, which are included on the statewide in-demand occupations list. This will be the 3rd vet tech program in the state. However, this will be the only one that is associated will be working together with a four-year university. Southern Union will collaborate with the Auburn University College of Veterinary Medicine on some of their lab activities and clinical rotations. And this will also be part of the Path to the Flames program for the Auburn undergraduate pre-veterinary medicine major. Auburn, who has encouraged this association, feels that vet techs with more hands-on experience will make better candidates for their doctoral program and ultimately better veterinarian by having that initial experience. The college will seek accreditation with the American Veterinary Medicine Association, and they will prepare graduates to pass the veterinary technician national exam, which is required for the state to be licensed as a vet tech. The college is projecting 1.7 million in new funds over the first 7 years of the program. And this primarily will be to hire a program director and a dedicated faculty member. It will also to continue to require internal and external funding support beyond the post-implementation period, which is unusual for us to approve that type of program. But both the community college system and Auburn University feel like the investment is worth it for this program. We also have some representatives. Dr. Klein is here, and Ms. Davis, if y'all have any questions concerning the expense. Otherwise, staff is recommending that we approve this program.
Thank you. The chair entertains a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments?
I'm just really pleased to see the over coordination with the 2 and 4 year institutions together. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. The program is approved. Thank you, Ms. White. Just for the record, I wasn't picking on the University of Alabama. It sounds like that they did have somebody and I'm sure they did. And so, but it would just be my recommendation that somebody be here. And so, and it sounds like they were, so I'm not meaning to pick on them. Information items, items 1 through 8 are normally accepted or not accepted by the commission as a whole. I thought as a mean parting gift, we'd go individually, but due to the time, I figured I could move on, but the chair entertains a motion to approve the items collectively.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, like sign. Information items are accepted. This commission is in excellent condition. Looking forward to Commissioner Frost's leadership going forward. And with that, we stand adjourned.
Good job.
Thank you.
Job, great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Yes, I don't want to. The internet is a-